Falkenstein. Thank you very much for joining us.
Nice to be here, Jake.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Oompher is all about inspiring people to achieve extraordinary things. So who and what during your life and career has inspired you?
Oh, all sorts of inspirations. But really, I suppose it starts off with your parents. And although they weren't inspiration in terms of their of what they were doing themselves, they were an inspiration in terms of just being wise. They were certainly not business people at all, but they had wise words on life.
Okay, and what about in business? Have you had some quite good mentors and people along the way, I guess through organisations like Entrepreneurs Organisation, people you turn to and ask for advice?
Yeah, I think today a lot of people want to have a mentor, and I think that's wrong. Everybody is a mentor to you, and you really need to take the advice of lots of people, and people love helping. Yeah. And so talking to lots of people, but one mentor, I wouldn't be a good mentor specifically for one person, yeah, but I might be able to put some input in.
Okay. That's great. So you studied at Auckland University, and then you're an accountant, and then got into marketing, and then into the business world at 24, a CEO of Polaroid by 29. I guess back in those early days, did you always want to get into business yourself and start your own business, or were you quite happy in the corporate world at that stage? No,
not at all. I think and I suppose 24 was probably a time when I changed, but up to 24 I really drifted right through school. When I started university, I went along to an arts degree, and a friend of mine said, do accounting, everybody passes that. So I did accounting, but I was really just drifting the whole time. Not really, just not good or not bad, not a bad guy. But then at 24, I realised suddenly, gee whiz, I've got some talents that other people haven't got. And one of them was seeing opportunities that other people just weren't seeing. I could see them very easily, and then I think I've developed that into a sort of a seasoned intuition, and so therefore I can make decisions without a lot of analysis.
So I guess was it the realisation of that talent that sparked your entrepreneurial interest, and realised that maybe the best way to capitalise off those talents was to start your own business?
No, again, I'd say, and I did say while I was at in the first 7 years of Just Water, that if I had my way again, I would have stayed in a corporate environment.
Okay.
Because once you are the boss, and once I was 29 and was the boss, I quite liked being the boss, whether I was the boss of somebody else's company or my own company. And if you're doing everything right, you can run a company the way you want to run it.
So then, I guess in the early days of your business career, you imported thousands and thousands of Z watches from Hong Kong, and then sold 27,000 between October and Christmas. And then later on, lots of them were returned with faulty straps and so on. So what did that whole experience actually teach you about business in your early business career?
Well, I mean, that was really the down point of my life. I look at my life, it goes like that, then one down, yeah, and the rest of it's been up. And it was a real down point because I'd had come off a very, very successful time launching Le Specs and Le Tan, which have both been market winners. I believed in my own PR, got a lot of publicity, and believed I was pretty good. And then suddenly to have a downer like that, where the whole thing crashes, was pretty depressing, I suppose, to come back from. And I suppose the lesson it taught me, in marketing terms, I did absolutely everything right. We sold 4 times as many watches as the multinational Swatch, but what I'd done, I'd screwed down the supplier and got the best deal I could in Hong Kong, yet for a few cents more I could have got a watch that was imperfect and the strap wouldn't break.
Okay.
And so I learned, hey, buying, make sure the quality is right and don't just go for the cheapest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then I guess in typical sort of serial entrepreneur fashion, you were into the next business in the sort of printing industry pretty quickly after that, sort of building your way back up again. How did you get into that?
Well, really, I came into it in terms of a guy I knew from some years ago, and was running this company, quite a large public company, and he said, listen, why don't you come and run this company for me, which has got $60 million turnover, was losing $3 million, and I thought, well, maybe I'm a pretty good change round manager, and so I went in there and really sold off all the businesses. And it was really from that I started, in fact, what was a fax rental business. And the overall holding company went under after the 1987 crash, and I ended up holding what was Red Eagle, which ended up being Just Water.
Yeah, okay. And how, in the early days of the fax business, how did you go about marketing the product? Was it a lot of like outwards cold calls, or did you do marketing and then people come to you, or was it a combination? How did that all work?
Well, believe it or not, fax was a state of the art at that stage, and it was a boom industry.
Yeah.
And there were 27 companies selling faxes, and so I said, hey, there's a niche there to go into the rental business. And I really followed what had been a Xerox model. So Xerox started, that's the only way they would sell their computers was to rent them. And I said, why don't I just rent faxes? And other companies didn't rent faxes because the sales rep had to go and get credit approval and then go out again, had to make 2 visits. And in a boom industry, you don't want to do that. I said that, hey, we won't worry about credit checks because if the thing falls over, we take the fax, put it in somewhere else. It doesn't really matter. And that's what we did. So after the share market crash of 87, we actually boomed in 88 because a lot of companies couldn't do capex, or branches couldn't do capex, but they could approve a rental very easily.
Okay.
So we boomed in that time.
Yeah, and there was lots of, I guess, getting those faxes into the businesses. To go about that, was there a lot of, I guess, reaching out to them and offering them your products and giving them free trials and that kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, a lot of free trials, and they found they needed it because the next guy down the road would say, hey, I'll fax you through an invoice or something. Yeah. They didn't have one. And then in order to get one, they had to go to head office to get approval, credit approval for, or capital expenditure approval.
Yeah.
So by me coming in and renting them a fax, they got over that.
Okay, and 1989, Just Water International is when you started that. So did the idea for that stem from what you were doing in the printing industry? I guess it's sort of in this sort of office, high product office area, or was it a completely different thing?
No, what I liked so one of the lessons Z-Watch taught me was when you sell a product, you sell it once and there's nothing left. And so I really liked the rental business. And then I liked it even more after I got into the fax business. So I really looked around for a rental product. And I saw a water cooler as a rental product. And that was totally different from the way it had been marketed around the world, where it was selling water. We rented a product.
Okay, and that passive income structure, have you always found that a brilliant way to structure businesses?
Yeah, because if there's a disaster or a financial crisis, you've still got that rent rolling in.
Yeah.
And so it makes it very risk-free.
Yeah. And did you know you're onto a good idea from the start with Just Water?
I did. I always had this thing that, hey, what's the worst that can happen, and plan for the worst, and how much can I afford to lose? So in that case, when I went into the fax business, I said, I've got $20,000. If I lose that, nothing left. I'll stop.
Yeah.
The water business, I bought 6 water coolers and said, hey, we'll give it a go. Advertised them. They went out the first day. So within a month, I knew, hey, I'm onto something hot here. And we advertised like hell. And it was really all about getting market share.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And I guess in those early days, how did you go about attracting that initial investment before your IPO in 2005 with the NZX?
Well, really, we went to the bank and with what was a very interesting structure. So we said to the bank, listen, I suppose I started off with the faxes. I said, listen, we're going to be buying faxes that we'll rent, and we'll get a guaranteed income for 3 years. I even know the numbers. It was 3,600 over 3 years, right? Now that's guaranteed. That's our asset. What we want you to do is give us funding for 2/3 of that, so you're easily covered. So they did that, and so we got 2,400 for every fax that we bought for 1,800.
Okay.
So we got more money in than what it cost us for the product.
Yeah.
And that was just being innovative and them not really realising what was happening. But it was, a bit of a lucky break.
Yeah.
And business is all about that. You get some lucky breaks and you get some bad things go wrong.
Okay. So just talking about that investment, what would your advice be for entrepreneurs out there who are wanting to get investment in their company? What's the best way to go about it?
Well, they have to have something that's, you hear this cry, and I say, hey, how do I know a person is not an entrepreneur when they say my problem is getting funding? Because funding is there if you have a business model that works.
Yeah.
Now, I see a lot of particularly students coming out of university, and they believe in their spreadsheets, but they haven't sold one of these products. So the product has to have margin in it, which is a risk factor, and it needs to be something that the market wants.
Absolutely. So when you were looking at investing in companies today, obviously Pure SEO is one of the recent ones you're looking for. There's a real need there as well, a pain that people have.
Yeah, it's real. That was a pain. It was new. It's in a growth industry. So what I liked was it was a growth industry. It was something that people needed. It was something that this company did very, very well, and it had a recurring income.
Okay. And were the bank quite strong and all of that sort of stuff with Just Water when you were looking for investment there?
Yes, they were originally they got quite tough on us, and a couple of, so we started in 89, or really 87 with the faxes. In 1992, a couple of young MBAs, the guy that gave us the first credit loan, they looked at our balance sheet, and anyone who's been in the rental business, it's a terrible balance sheet because your receivables are off balance sheet. And they came along, and after we had a good year in the water cooler business, 3 years into it, and I thought they were going to give me a bit of champagne, and they said we want our money back, and we had borrowings of $2 million. We just bought a new building in Onehunga, and we had the Prime Minister opening it the next week, and I always remember him saying, due to Mr. Jim Bolger, due to my government, these young companies have really prospered, and look at this great company. And I'm like, my lawyer, we've got 3 weeks left. But I never really worried about it because I knew that we had a business model that worked. And I thought they are just so dumb that they can't see it. And in the end, we had 2 banks that wanted it. Never told them, and the BNZ is the bank that we still have now.
Okay.
They told us they thought they had won the account off the National Bank.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they just skipped us up right in time.
Yeah.
And they've always banked on receivables. They've looked at those off-balance sheet receivables, and that's what the whole funding is based on.
Okay, and I guess with what you're just saying, you obviously had huge confidence in the business model, so that obviously is a vital thing. Entrepreneurs need to be hugely confident in what they're actually selling themselves.
I mean, I met a few weeks ago Victoria Ransom, New Zealander, who sold her business to Google for 300 plus million. And she said, once I had the business model right, and I knew it was right, I knew we had the margin, we went from 6 sales reps to 150 sales reps in 6 months. Because as I said, all it needs now is market share, because the margin's there. When I want to stop, the cash will just fly out.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And for you, what's next with Just Water? Are you planning on expanding more globally in the future?
Well, right at this moment, I've just put a takeover offer in for the shares I don't own, so therefore I'm privatising it, bring it back to family ownership. And there are advantages and disadvantages of being a public company. And at the moment, I think there are advantages in me going private. Then, see, in private companies, it's all about cash flow. In public companies, it's all about profitability. And I use the quote, profit is a matter of opinion, cash is a matter of fact. And I'm interested in how much cash is left at the end of the year. So that doesn't suit the public sector. Okay,
so becoming a private company again, what are going to be the key changes in the way that you go about running that business? What's going to be next?
I think we don't have to worry about profit, we just have to worry about cash. So I can take up opportunities, again, know how much I'm going to lose if it doesn't go right, but don't have to worry that, hey, if we lost that in a public company arena, shareholders, look at this, things going down. They want to see things going up.
Okay, so as part of that plan, is it definitely going to be getting into new countries and new environments with the systems?
Not necessarily. Getting new. So it's either going vertically or laterally.
Okay.
So I can do either.
Okay, fantastic. And I guess when you started out, the marketplace with what you're doing with Just Water was less crowded versus today. Obviously, there's other companies in the world doing the same thing. So how did you innovate and keep on top of the market? What were some of the new strategies you come up with in that time?
Well, when we started, we were the only company in the world that was doing water coolers the way we did.
Yeah.
So everybody else was delivering bottled water. Now that's changing over time. At one time, in 2001, they had the first point of use conference. We had more of what we call point of use, so water coolers that connected to the mains, than in numbers than anyone else in the world. Now it's all changed. Now the 50% of coolers that are in the market are point of use coolers. So we came up with what was a global innovation. And I think that's, as New Zealanders, we shouldn't be scared. I mean, I've put my hand up a few times and done things that, when working for other companies that have been global initiatives that have been taken up globally.
Yeah, awesome. And what's it been like, against companies like Coca-Cola and stuff, who probably do want people to buy their products instead? Are they quite strong in the way that they try and shutting down companies who are competitors to them?
Yeah, not really. They're not very good at it. They take a long time to make decisions, and they're not very good at. They're good at running big brands, and they do that well. At one stage, they got into the water cooler business, did beautiful water coolers and new bottles and everything, and it was really from a marketing point of view, they're fantastic. But dealing with the business-to-business market, it's a whole different ball game. And
do you have to move a lot quicker, do you? Or
you have to move quicker, and you're not dealing with consumers. You're dealing with people who think they're in business, and you can't just have any price you like or whatever and think you can market the hell out of it. So after 4 years, they wrote off millions of dollars, but it's nothing in their portfolio. And in fact, we ended up buying the business. Okay.
And have you ever looked at getting into other forms of the beverage industry, from chocolate milk to anything else at all? I guess when you're in one area, does it translate quite nicely to other areas as well? Or?
Well, no. I mean, it's like early on, we went into the bottled water business, and we had the name Just Water because I always thought, hey, when we're in the small bottled water business, and someone goes in a restaurant, they say, what will you have? I'll have Just Water. They're going to get my brand. But very early on, we got into supermarkets, and I could see that, there's only about one shelf of water coolers, and virtually none there. But I could see that there was a big Coke truck coming in and Frucor trucks coming in, and they had 24 different products. And if I'm only coming in with one product, I was never going to be able to beat them. And if you look today, there are Coke and Frucor have 92% of the market, small bottled water. There are about 35 other companies trying to get the other 8%. It's a tough market to get.
Yeah, and personally, has it always been important to you to give back? I guess as an entrepreneur who's done very well, you've given shares back to your old school and so on, 2 million Just Water shares. Is it important for entrepreneurs to give back?
Well, I say they have to make that decision themselves. It's a personal decision.
Yeah.
I don't think they should or they shouldn't, but it's for me that's what I like doing. I'd rather die intestate.
Yeah. And what about teaching entrepreneurship? Is there enough of that going on with young people in schools and so on?
No, I mean they're now businesses in the national curriculum, and I've been involved in that process, but I really don't think we've got it right certainly at secondary or tertiary, and I think tertiary business schools just don't have that right in terms of teaching entrepreneurship.
Okay. And what's next for you, Tony? Are you still looking at investing in new companies through the Harvard Group and so on?
Well, I think in the short term, now that I'm back in control of Just Water, I'll be spending some time in that and be very focused on that. And probably I've got more things outside business that I'd like to do, particularly in the education sector, entrepreneurship sector, that I'd like to do, and probably be spending time time on that.
Brilliant. And just pure SEO, are you kind of involved in that, or is that more of a...
Yeah, I have been pretty actively involved. I've told Richard I'll probably be a bit less involved now that I'm back in Just Water.
Yeah.
But that's been a really, new things are always exciting. It's a growth industry. It's been great to be involved.
Yeah, awesome. So we've just got a few quick fire questions to finish. If you had to sort of sum up your top few bits of advice for starting out entrepreneurs, what would you pass on to them?
Well, I think you have to, there are opportunities come along every day and you have to decide which ones you grasp. Entrepreneurs are often not good at focusing, and so it's a discipline you have to teach yourself that, hey, let's focus on this and get it right. It's too easy to go out and you go halfway along one, you say, gee, hey, there's another opportunity, I'll take that one as well.
Yeah.
It's focusing on one that's, hey, that's a business model that works, then just go and get it. Make sure you've got that nice base of income that you're safe. So it's always about de-risking.
Yeah, okay. And who are some of the Kiwi entrepreneurs that you respect the most, and why is that? Who do you look up to in New Zealand?
There are a lot. There are a lot of people who've done some really great things. John Hines with, you just see those Hines pipes. I mean, they're nothing, but he's developed this enormous international business. The other Sir Ken, who does the air baggage systems around the world.
Okay.
I mean, there's some really great. Bill Gallagher fencing. I mean, yeah, there really are some great stories.
Yeah. And
a lot you don't even hear about.
Yeah, very true. So from Just Water to Bartercard to pure SEO, what are some of the key lessons you've learned? What would you sum up as like some of the things you keep at the forefront of how you operate today?
Well, I've done both right and wrong, but I think the key one is focus. And I've mentioned that before, but focus is really important. Now, entrepreneurs find that often difficult to do. The cash flow is so important. It's a lot of people have the dream, they don't know how to get there. And so entrepreneurship is all about idea plus execution. So that's all it is, idea plus execution. Now there are plenty of ideas, but one, it's executing an idea that's wrong, or an idea that's got no market possibility, or two, not knowing how to execute, having a great idea and not knowing how to put it into practice, and not prepared to learn, take advice.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And today, when you're looking back across your career, what are you most proud of when you look back on everything you've been involved with?
I suppose what I'm most proud of and what amazes me was at the tender age of 30 that I was able to go into a company which was this Optical Holdings that was almost that was within 3 months of going to receivership, and be able to go in there, restructure it, bring out new products in the specs, the tan, go overseas, launch a new brand from materials that had been sitting there for a long time. We launched a brand of glasses called Undercovers by Jonathan Skeets. Got it picked up an Australian designer, do all that, and we were the fastest growth stock on the New Zealand Stock Exchange 2 years running. And so if I look back, that's probably the biggest success.
Yeah.
Not necessarily financially, but I look back, that's one I'm probably the most proudest of.
Yeah, fantastic. And the 16-year-old boy you were, what would you think of who you've become today?
I think he'd be surprised because at school, as I said, I just floated through. I was a nothing. Wasn't good at sport, wasn't good at anything. And in fact, they had to look up. They didn't think I even went to the school because I was such a non-event. And people, at my school couldn't remember me. I was very, very shy, extremely shy, and so I sort of hid from the rest of the world. And so they'd be 16-year-old would be very, very surprised. Like, gee, didn't think he had that in him.
Yeah, awesome. I think he'd be pretty proud as well. So to finish, Tony, can you look down this camera here and tell us what are your wise words for the people of New Zealand?
I think you don't know everything, and it's important that that you go out there and learn off other people. Also, you have to find a product or service that the market wants. You can't have one that the market doesn't want. So you also can't have one that everyone else is doing. So somebody else, if you've got a coffee bar down one road and in the same area you put another one, chances are you're going to have half the business each. So you have to make your one different. It's finding something that is unique. So I'm still old-fashioned, and I look in every product that I go into, I look at the 4 Ps, which is, hey, how do I make my product different? Take a look at my pricing. Can I make that different? Can I look at my promotion? How can I make that different? Advertising, promotion, and where I distribute the product or how I distribute it. And if I can get something different in every one of those, then I know that's going to be a success.
Cool. Tony Falkenstein, thank you very much.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you.